The Southern Cameroons questions remains one of Africa's most compelling post-colonial conflicts, rooted in historical injustices, manipulation, and a betrayal of the principles of self-determination. The February 1961 plebiscite, often described as the genesis of Southern Cameroon's present predicament, was less an exercise of free will and more a calculated move by colonial powers and political actors who sought to erase the map and identity of a people. In this analysis, we will examine the circumstances leading to the plebiscite, the warnings of Dr. E.M.L. Ndele, the problematic nature of the voting options in the referendum, and the subsequent annexation of the Southern Cameroons by la République du Cameroun. I will further make a contrast of this situation with a legal framework that governed the unification of Tanganyika and Zanzibar to form the United Republic of Tanzania, to highlight the lack of any legal treaty binding La République du Cameroun and Southern Cameroons. And finally, I link these events to the modern-day resistance of Ambazonians, who categorically reject February 11 as a day of celebration. Dr. Ndele, one of the leading figures in the Southern Cameroon struggle, warned before the plebiscite that voting for a union with La République du Cameroun was tantamount to stepping into an unknown and a potentially dangerous future. He argued that while a union with Nigeria had its challenges, at least, he said, Southern Cameroonians knew what to expect given their existing administrative and economic ties with Nigeria. In contrast, joining La République was akin to boarding a plane and landing in an unknown destination, he said. This was a warning that history has since vindicated. Ndele's argument was based on several crucial observations. Number one, the lack of cultural and political compatibility. The Southern Cameroons with British colonial background had developed institutions, laws, and political culture separate, distinct from La République du Cameroon's own, led by their French masters. Then the plebiscite itself was rigged. The process seems skewed in favor of union with La République du Cameroun. The most glaring manipulation was the exclusion of a third option, complete independence. The Southern Cameroons was already self-governing, with a functioning legislative assembly and an evolving democracy. Yet the people were forced to choose between two external powers rather than being allowed to continue their independent path. And number three, the misinterpretation of the plebiscite vote. Many believe that the plebiscite was a direct decision to join either Nigeria or La République. That was not the case. In reality, it was supposed to be a mere sampling of public opinion, after which further negotiations would determine the final outcome. The fact that the United Kingdom and the UN failed to ensure proper decolonization left Southern Cameroons in a precarious position. Now, let's examine a similar union process that took place between Tanganyika and Zanzibar to form the United Republic of Tanzania. Let's see how it was handled. A legally binding treaty is a crucial component of any legitimate political unification. To illustrate what was missing in the Southern Cameroons La République case, one can examine the Articles of Union between Tanganyika and Zanzibar, which established the United Republic of Tanzania in 1964. These are some of the key articles from that union between Tanganyika and Zanzibar. Article number 2, the preservation of autonomy. This article outlined that Zanzibar would retain its government with control over key domestic matters like education, health care, and internal security. In the contrary, the Southern Cameroons lost all autonomy when La République du Cameroun imposed a centralized system from Yaoundé. Article number 4, the recognition of two systems of government. Tanganyika and Zanzibar agreed that although they were uniting, Zanzibar would maintain a semi-autonomous government, while Tanganyika would manage broader national affairs. No such agreement existed in the Southern Cameroon's case, where the so-called federation was merely a pretext for eventual assimilation. Article 6, the legal framework for the Union. That treaty explicitly outlined legal mechanisms to guide the unification process. It detailed how laws would be harmonized and how governance would function under the new structure. In the case of the Southern Cameroons, La République du Cameroun, no legal treaty exists between them and La République, meaning that their supposed union was never legally constituted. Article 8, international recognition of the union between Tanganyika and Zanzibar. The union treaty between the two was ratified and recognized by international bodies, including the United Nations. The Southern Cameroon's union with La République du Cameroun was never formally recognized through a signed treaty deposited at the United Nations, further proving that the Southern Cameroons was essentially captured or annexed by La République du Cameroun, and it was illegal. Despite the plebiscite's ambiguity, on October 1, 1961, the UK and the United Nations abandoned the Southern Cameroons, effectively delivering it into the hands of La République du Cameroun without any legal treaty. Unlike Tanganyika and Zanzibar, which had a structured and agreed upon unification process, the Southern Cameroons had no legal safeguards. Within days, La République du Cameroun moved in its military, the gendarmes and the administrators, the DOs, dismantling the democratic structures of the Southern Cameroons and imposing a centralized rule from Yaoundé. Over time, all institutions, the judiciary, education, economic frameworks, and governance were systematically dismantled or assimilated into La République du Cameroun system. As a result, this is what became the long-term impact of the annexation, what I call the bastardization of the Southern Cameroons. Number 1, the suppression of political identity. The Southern Cameroons' distinct identity was gradually erased. The promised federation was revoked, and by 1972, Amadou Ahidjo unilaterally declared a unitary state. Economic marginalization. The once thriving economy of the Southern Cameroons was exploited to benefit La République. Key institutions such as the Marketing Board were dissolved, and revenue from the Southern Cameroon's resources was centralized in Yaoundé. How about cultural assimilation and oppression? The imposition of the French language and legal system alienated Anglophone Cameroonians, creating systemic discrimination that fueled resentment. These are some, ladies and gentlemen, of the reasons why February 11 is a day of mourning in the Southern Cameroons. Number 1, the symbol of deception. The plebiscite is seen as a fraudulent exercise that paved the way for annexation rather than self-determination. Number 2, February 11 marked the moment when Southern Cameroonians were forced into an unwanted union. And number 3, the ongoing armed conflict, which escalated in 2017 following the brutal crackdown on peaceful protests, is rooted in these historical grievances. To emphasize their rejection of February 11, Ambazonian leaders and activists have enforced ghost towns. Total shutdown will start today and tomorrow. This is a form of civil disobedience, signaling to the Republic of Cameroon and the international community that they do not recognize the legitimacy of Youth Day celebration, so-called. The slogan, "Never Again," encapsulates the refusal to accept another round of deception and oppression. The Southern Cameroon's struggle is a textbook case of post-colonial betrayal, forced assimilation, and the denial of self-determination. The February 11, 1961 plebiscite was a rigged exercise that ignored the true will of the people, leading to decades of systemic oppression under La République du Cameroun. By contrasting this situation with a legally binding treaty of union between Tanganyika and Zanzibar, it becomes clear that the Southern Cameroons was annexed, not united with La République du Cameroun. The continued resistance, including the rejection of 11 February, is proof of the enduring spirit of Ambazonians who seek to right a historical wrong. Without a legally binding document, no treaty, no union, the Southern Cameroons remains an occupied territory. And that is the reason we fight, and fight, we must fight until justice is done.